Welcome to the Earning Your Living by Living Your Dream show. Today we have a special guest. We have Corey Kamerdiner. Yes. He is going to tell us all about his entrepreneurship journey. And of course, we have Matt here with us and Cedriana. Yeah. And
I like that.
Ready. Corey, you give energy, you give enthusiasm right away. Has that been like this always? Has it been like this?
No. And I can tell you last week, I was actually dying of COVID, laid up in the hospital. So I'm just happy to be myself again.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yes.
COVID tried to kill me, but it didn't win.
Oh,
Right.
wow. You would have never guessed.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
bounced right up. Wow.
But to answer your question,
Mm.
no, I was not like this growing up. But I saw a guy in military recruiting. His name was Whitfield. And every time he walked into a recruiting station, he lit up the room because his personality just captivated everyone. And I said, you know what? That guy has something special. And when he went outside to smoke a cigarette, he turned his energy off. And I'm like, wait a minute, that guy knows when to turn it on and turn it off. So that's something that probably can be learned. And that's what I did, is I learned how to be a guy that could be like energetic on the spot, because at the end of the day, that's what it takes to be awesome in sales. Just like Mattress Mac, save you money today.
That's right. The number one salesperson there.
Yeah. And if you see him in person over at Gallery Furniture, he is not that energetic guy. So he knows how to turn it on when he has to.
I've seen him in person. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell us about New Home Programs. Tell us about you. Tell us about how you started all of this. How did it come out from your heart?
Okay, very simple. Experience. My experience of trying to buy a home starting at age 19 in the military, didn't know anything about buying a home because my parents bought their homes when they were probably in their upper 30s, low 40s. But by the time I tried to buy a home, I was already in the military on the opposite side of America. I was in San Diego, they were in West Virginia. So I just, kept getting, rejected by banks like, hey, you only qualify for $90,000, right? Good luck finding a house in San Diego for $90,000. You can't even buy a piece of dirt in San Diego for $90,000. And it was just, I didn't have someone to coach me. I didn't understand that. So by the time I was probably 22, 23 years old, I'm now stationed in Florida as a military recruiter, had an extra stripe. I was making more money. There were guys in my offices that, had a home, other places in America. And when they checked into Florida to that office, they were like, hey, I'm going to buy another home since I'm stationed here for 3 years. So I gave it a second try, and I did the same thing, walked into a mortgage company, a bank, ran my credit. Here's my pay stubs. And they said, you only qualified for about $93,000. Well, I lived in an area which was Bradenton, Sarasota. I don't know if you know about Sarasota. Oprah Winfrey lives there. Jerry Springer lives there. A lot of famous people live there. The number one sports academy for kids is actually in Sarasota. But again, $93,000, nothing. The cheapest house was probably $250,000, and it was back in 1998. So they told me I qualified pretty much for nothing. So I said, maybe I'm just too young to buy a home. I'll finish up my time in the military. I actually got recruited out of the military to become a headhunter to help technicians from the military to get jobs with Fortune 500 companies. So I was recruited. I was brought to Houston, worked my job for a year. And I said, surely I should be able to get a house because I'd already served in the military 8.5 years and I have a good job. So I walked into Countrywide Home Loans over there by West Oaks Mall. This was 2002. Gave them my pay stubs. They ran my credit. They said, sir, you only qualify for $98,000. Back then, I could have bought something in Katy, right? Because Katy was just, starting to come up. But there was nothing that I really wanted. So this time around, I asked the mortgage loan originator, why is it that for the last almost decade, every time I try to get a loan, you guys tell me I don't even qualify for $100,000, and I know that I make good money. So what she did was she educated me on debt to income ratios. And she pointed out on my credit report, one of the automobiles I had, which, I don't know if you know anybody in the military, but the military pays your housing allowance. They give you allowance for food. They pay all your medical. They pay for your uniforms. So at the end of the day, what do you spend your money on if they're paying for everything?
Mhm.
Fancy cars, right? Sports cars, motorcycles, and boats, right? If you're
Oh,
from the
yeah.
Navy.
All
So
of the above, huh?
exactly. And let me
Fancy
tell you,
car did you have?
well, let me tell you, by the time I got out, I already had probably like maybe 3 or 4 cars, but the car that I really loved and I had, it was a Mustang Cobra, fire red convertible, one of 334 made of that year of 97.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was a payment of $550. Now, in today's time, right, 550 is pretty much what people pay, but not back in 1998, right? This car
Right.
was like a $34,000 sports car. So when she told me this mathematical equation, she said,
Uh-huh.
for every $100 a month you have in debt on your credit report, obligated to pay monthly, you drop by 10,000 on the qualifying amount towards the purchase of a home. So not only did I have that Mustang, because I'm from West Virginia, you got to have a truck, right?
Sure.
I had an Explorer, right? 4x4. That payment was $550 a month. So I had $1,100 worth of monthly debt tied into cars. So mathematically, if I didn't have those car payments and I was already qualified for 98,000, I literally could have qualified for almost 200,000 plus if I didn't have those cars. So I just said, you know what? How come nobody explained this to me? Because if you would have told me this when I was 19 years old, when I got my first brand new Mustang GT, I probably wouldn't have gotten it because I would have rather had like a condo in San Diego and then turn around 3 years later and sold it probably for 400,000 because that's when the economy boomed for housing. So what I did was I walked outside of Countrywide, called Navy Federal, said, I'm trying to buy a home. I need you to refinance this car right now. Why have you on the phone? And I need you to drop my payments pretty much in half. And they did that. Each car went from 550 to 250. And what that did was it allowed me to qualify for about 145,000. So in 2002, I went out to Katy, bought my first home, almost tripled the living space that I had because I lived over off of I want to say Briar Forest and the Beltway, right? It was a Camden property, right? Holy Springs was the name of it. 900 square foot little apartment. So I almost tripled. I ended up getting like a 2,600 square foot home, 2-car garage. So from that point in life, being someone that was serving on nuclear power submarines, so I was supposed to be the brightest of the brightest in the military, right?
Yeah.
How in the world did I go 10 years without being able to buy a home simply because I didn't know math? And to know math was how I got into nuclear power, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what? I shrugged it off. 6 months later, guess what happened to me? I got laid off from that same company that recruited me out of the Navy. And I got a mortgage. So to keep that nice little house, I was an eBay trader. I worked at Bassett Furniture, selling furniture at night. I worked at Best Buy in the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning, selling computers, like opening and then all the way through the day. And a Navy reservist. I worked 4 jobs hustling because I wanted to keep that mortgage. And from that point, I did that for about a year, working 4 jobs.
Wow.
Until finally somebody called me from the company that fired me, right? Because after 9/11, the economy was bad. Everybody was laying off.
Yeah.
And one of these headhunters actually went to go work for Royce Homes, which was the largest family-owned builder in the city. And he says, I'm now their head recruiter. And I know you like talking on the phone, right? And I know you come in early and you go home late. I think you'd be good at selling homes. And I said, you know what? I hate civilian companies. I'm never going to let anybody fire me. I'm going back in the Navy and I'm going to do 30 years. And you know what? I'll come out probably when I'm like 37, 39, somewhere around there. But I don't want anything to do with civilian owned companies because they gave me a pink slip. I thought that was a rumor, like your pink slip, but it was a pink slip that they gave me. So I took the job at Royce Homes. And I learned the real estate industry in 1 year. Building houses, selling houses, mortgage finance, and even credit, the mathematical algorithm to the 5 factors of credit scoring. And I learned that not only was I an ignorant person in buying a home, almost everybody else in the city of Houston was ignorant as well. And what I found myself doing was not really selling the homes, like doing the contracts, but educating people on credit, mortgages, the home buying process, to the point that I had people lining up at that office and I educated them. And my position was I worked from an office, but I could sell in all 32 neighborhoods across the city. So really I was educating and then sending them out to the communities, and somebody else was selling the houses. So after 1 year of doing that, I decided, you know what? Why would I limit myself to only selling their brand when I could become a real estate agent and I could sell every house in the city of Houston? So I did that for 5 years as a real estate agent, and then became a broker, and then started my own real estate company, which is newhomeprograms.com, which today it is a real estate company licensed in Texas and Florida.
Cool.
We did acquire a mortgage company in 2017. So we do finances as well. And right now we're in the process of buying another franchise, which is an insurance company called We Insure, so that we can do property and casualty for our clients as well.
Wow. Wow.
Did I say
Amazing.
it quick enough?
Like, in 10 minutes, you inspired us so quick.
That's a 20-year snapshot in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Matt, did you have a question?
I was just, I just had a joke as usual. I was saying let's try it again twice as fast, if you don't mind.
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
Corey, how did you see, okay, from your heart, like what is the service
Cortisone.
coming
You
from your
cortisone.
heart? Well,
So here's the thing. I personally believe
mhm,
that every person should own a home. Okay. Some people will disagree because they'll say people aren't responsible, which is true. But at the end of the day, nobody in America works at the same place for 30 years and retires and gets a pension, unless they're in the military, right? But even the military will try to force you out when they downsize. So the number one wealth building tool in America is tied in to real estate. And I teach people that when you own a home, right? Don't say you just want to buy it because you don't want to throw your money away renting, right? Look at a house as being a bank, and you're the owner of the bank, right? Because when you put money in the bank, they may give you 1 to 2% every year, right? Probably more on the 1%, but whatever money you put in, it can kind of grow in a bank, right? So with a house, just in the last 12 months, house values have gone up 10%, right? So when you buy that house, you're actually using somebody else's money because you're borrowing money from the bank, right? But regardless, as you pay down your principal and your balance, right, you're getting equity. But it's where the appreciation comes in, is where you're really starting to do the wealth building. And Americans that own home in the last probably 24 months, they should have experienced the greatest appreciation of real estate, because houses have skyrocketed in the last 12 to 24 months, and they will continue for another 12 months. And when you have that equity in your house, there's a lot of things you can do with that. You can actually get a home equity line of credit, which is like a credit card tied into that equity, and you can draw from it. And guess what you can do with it? Start a business, buy more houses, start a business,
or buy more houses, start a business. Yeah, that's true.
And rental properties are business. Airbnb exploded by 10,000 when COVID happened, right? So you could buy a business, you could send your kids to school, you could pay off maybe your high interest loan on your cars and free up, let's say $550 a month in debt, and use that money to maybe put in your Roth IRA or other retirement. So, so me personally, I know, because I have family members that are elderly and they do not have any type of income other than Social Security. And we do loans. So I have people that are in their 60s that want to buy a home. So I get to see how much money they get from Social Security, and it's not a lot to live off.
Yeah,
You
true.
see? So
thank you for saying that, because as we are inviting our audience to create their own businesses, it's like creating your own job. And people need to get inspired and they are, by what you're saying, because all these pensions, they're so small later on that we better have a business ourselves so that it can go on when we're 70, when we hand it off to somebody in our 70s or 80. But again, Madras Mac, look at his age. I mean, and he has his own business and his own job. Yeah. So
I would say he has his own empire.
yeah,
Yeah, he's at that level.
that level. Yeah, that's right.
But
Is that the level you want to be in?
I'm not one to say I want to go out there and be the biggest guy and biggest name. I just focus on what can I do today to solve the problems of other people. And if I help others, then something's going to come back. It's like that. You throw your bread upon the waters.
Yeah.
Maybe some will come back because I'm sure fish are going to eat some of that bread, right? So maybe some will come back. But I'm just not that guy that's like, my life is designed to be successful, because what is success, honestly?
Your face lights up when you said something will come back.
It always
so
does.
sure of it. Yeah.
It always
It
does.
always does. Yeah. Did you guys see his face? He lit up just in that second. Like, that's awesome. So you every day you solve your problems in the present. You throw a net out there. Something's gonna. From your heart something's gonna come back anyway. You're having fun, and yeah.
Yep. At a minimum, if I can live my life every day knowing that I did good to someone, I sleep well at night. I feel good about myself. I'm content. Now I work hard, so I'm going to make sure my lights stay on in my house, right? And my mortgage is paid.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you have to go beyond just making money to pay your mortgage. At the end of the day, everybody does that, but not everybody can say they live a life where they're at peace with themselves and at peace with other people. So,
Yeah.
And if you are that type of person that says, well, I got to be that number one guy, successful and beat everybody else. Okay. You try so hard and then tomorrow you die.
Yeah.
Then you wasted like your life focusing on success and you never lived. You see, and I know people like that, every day it's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And have you seen me on this? And I'm like, that's great. But I can see that you live a life that's full of stress because you're trying to be number one in everything, that you're doing.
And they're too focused maybe on the future, but you're focused on the present.
And I have kids now. I got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. So my whole way of thinking has shifted, so.
How has it shifted?
A lot. Number one, I don't get as much sleep as I used to because they sleep with me in my bed. The thing is when you have kids, and this is me, the day that they're born, I made a decision. I have lived my life, right? So everything I used to do was for myself, right?
Yeah.
So when my kids come, as a father, everything I do has to be to develop and prepare them, number one, to be good people. But number two, to be able for them to take care of themselves. And number three, to plant in them something that will let me be at peace, that no matter what situation they get in, I can have trust and confidence that they will know how to handle it and to do the right thing. Because that is my number one concern, is what happens if life throws them a curveball and they don't make the right decision and they're not prepared, for that, because I can't be with them 24/7, especially when they go off and leave. So every day I'm showing into them as much as I can, trying to prepare them, knowing that they'll probably never be 100% prepared by me. They're going to go to school and have teachers and have other people. But at the end of the day, as long as they're with me, I'm going to sow into them. So, and letting them know that, yes, there is a thing called business, but also there's a thing called be an employee. And, even if you wanted to go out and just do charity work, that's fine. People do that. But just letting them know that there's no one right path, right? I can't make my kids be like me. I can't make them go into the military, but they need to know that there's many options and I can't push them to pigeonhole them into any one.
That's excellent. You're going to give them so many options and they're free
Exactly.
to follow their curiosity towards what lights them up.
Yep.
I have a question. How long have you done the new home programs for, and your team? Because you created a team also.
Yes. Yeah. So the concept of newhomeprograms.com, and I don't know if you see my logo, it
Yeah.
says established in 2004.
Wow.
That's when I actually built the first website. Right now, today, you're seeing the 5th revision of it. But the first website, I launched it in 2004. It was just, a website, lead generating website. It wasn't a real estate company then because I did work for another real estate company for 5 years. But in 2004, the concept was launched, the SEO, the digital marketing. Back in 2004, the term digital marketing didn't exist, believe it or not. Zillow didn't exist, Redfin didn't exist. So I tell people we're technically the first .com real estate company out there. It's just they had more money than we had. They had investors, we didn't, right?
And they have those listings, yeah.
So since 2004, really, we've been at it, and the company has evolved and changed over the years as well.
Wow.
But yeah,
And
17 years.
17 years, yes.
Mhm.
And how many people on your team?
So when we first started, we hired independent contractor agents, realtors. We were probably maybe at 300, not all at the same time because they come and go, right? Because they're independent contractors. But in 2019, the summer, we had, people leaving. And I said, you know what? I have a kid now. Because my first child came in 2018. My second came in 2019. And I said, I have to make a decision. Do I spend a lot of time and effort focusing on independent contractors, always recruiting? Because even though they're in business with you, their personal lives become my responsibility. Like the way I ran the company as a broker, it was kind of like I'm pastoring these people, right? Because they had my personal cell phone. I'm not like a Remax with, 150 agents, or some of these companies have 1,000 where they never speak to the owner. They personally knew me. So the thing is, they took a lot of my time. So when my kids came, I said, well, I can't let this group take not even a minute from my kids. So I made a decision to stop recruiting independent contractor agents and finding new people coming into the business and switching to a W-2 model with benefits. And it's at the same time when all the political stuff is going on about healthcare and, all this other thing. So when I had my first child, we've always been cash pay, and having to pay a lot of money to have a kid. I said, you know what? People that may not be as fortunate to have a business and have the ability to do cash pay, I understand how important that is now. And I needed to change to the W-2 model, not only so that the new people, we can control their time, because when you're an independent contractor, I can't control your time. I can't control your training, right?
Right.
But W-2, I can say, hey, you're going to work 9 to 5. So by having enough W-2 people, we were allowed to qualify for group plans. So the first thing we did was we got Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, phenomenal coverage. Now our employees had that. They started using it and reporting back of how much money they were saving on procedures that they never did because they never had insurance to cover it.
Right.
So their health was exploding, right? And they just came to work better people.
Good.
Then I started using the healthcare, and I'm like, you guys, you're right. And then that was the first thing. And then I said, you know what? A good employee will be happy if he knows that he's going to be taken care of health-wise in case something happens. That's present day. But what about his future? Nobody wants to work for a company forever, and then the day you decide to retire, you get nothing, right?
Yeah.
So then we partnered up with Merrill, which was Merrill Lynch. Bank of America bought them out, and we implemented it's called a simple IRA. We didn't go with the company 401k. That costs too much money to hire someone to manage it. Plus, you're limited in what you can invest your money in. So we went with a simple IRA that allows our employees to invest from their income $13,500 a year, which whatever you invest, you don't get taxed on. And you can choose to invest in whatever you want. If you want to invest in Tesla, Amazon, mutual funds, bond, it's your choice. So then we implemented that. So now, as they're getting their paycheck, instead of blowing their money on stuff, they can invest their money and they can watch their retirement grow.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
And then
health and their future. finances, you're
Yep.
taking care of your employees.
Exactly. And then after that, we implemented Aflac. So now they got dental, vision, and then if they get hurt on the job, then they get compensated while they're out. So that's the other. Now we have everybody on a salary. So whether you get hurt or not, I'm still going to pay you. But it is kind of cool that you're also going to get a check, from Aflac. And also Aflac, if you do have your co-pays that you have to pay, you can actually get money from Aflac to go ahead and pay those co-pays. So technically you could have medical, not for free because you're paying the monthly premium, but at least you don't have to pay the co-pays because Aflac will reimburse you for that.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
just described in our half hour here today how from start to this 17-year-old business and how you implemented all these programs for your employees, for
Mhm.
your clients, how also you designed it for you so that you can have more time for your family and for your business at the same time. And wow, this is very, very inspiring.
Yep.
Courtney.
And I explain to everyone who comes on board that the way the company is set up is so that me and my family, which my wife works with me, that we don't become slaves to working, right?
Mhm.
We work so that we can have happy lives with our family.
Yeah.
And if you come on board, I want for you what we have for our own self. So every position, we have a duplication. So for example, showing agents, which are our agents that go out and show homes, we have 3 of them. So
Mhm.
if one of them says, hey, I just want to take off a week or so and just be with my family, no big deal, go do it. We still have 2 other people in your role. So
Yeah.
even when it comes to time off, we're not like, oh, you got to have only 7 days per year. It's like, listen, I have a family. I'd hate to be limited to just 7 days, a year.
Flexible.
So as long as they're happy with their families, I believe that they'll be crazy to leave my company. So that's how I see it.
That's
Wow,
excellent.
Corey, you are so compassionate and you really think things through of how for your team and how to take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their families.
Yeah.
I was
And-
noticing a theme all throughout when you're talking, just like you're looking out for people, your kids, your employees, your family, you're forecasting their needs and what you could teach them or show them. So
Mhm.
that's what I got. That was really cool.
Yeah. Excellent. And one last thing, Corey, what is it that you enjoy the most about your business? When is it that you just love that part of your business? What is it?
The thing that I love the most is the prosperity of my people. If my people are prosperous and they're happy and they're healthy, that's something tangible that, again, I can sleep good at night, not having to worry about any problems or issues. And
Mm.
to me, it's biblical. You judge a king based on his kingdom, right? He can say he's the greatest king, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if the people he governs is in poverty, they're sick, there's no food, there's famine, then he's not a good leader. He's not a good king. So you judge a person based on his people. And that's how I judge myself, is based on the well-being of our personnel.
Awesome. Awesome.